Good evening, everybody. The date is April 29th of 2016, and I want to again welcome you to episode 3 of the Nick of Time News Show. Now, my plan today is to jump straight into the commentary. I don't want to make a big long intro, but I did want to take a second and thank everyone for the good feedback and advice that has come from my first 2 episodes. I welcome it moving forward. If you're on YouTube, I would like you to take a second just briefly right now. Click. That's all it takes, 2 clicks. Go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and of course, when you get the chance, share with everyone. It's okay. Like I said, it'll take 2 seconds real quick. Click, and you should already be done. Alrighty, then I did want to go ahead and talk to you today in regards to a small kind of update for my video yesterday is my main purpose for this broadcast today. Now, let's cut straight to the mustard here. I said yesterday that there would be a Donald Trump protest in Costa Mesa in Orange County, my hometown, and there was quite a protest. Now, I did get the opportunity to watch for a couple hours on live stream, and it looked pretty peaceful for the most part. There was some yelling on both sides, protesters at Trump supporters at protesters. There was a good amount of, yelling in reference to how people are stupid. There was a lot of reference into yelling about how people protesting were freeloaders. There's a lot of yelling in reference to the fact that the protesters were saying all the supporters are racists. And you know what? I gotta tell you, it's all very non-productive in terms of actually sitting down and working together and trying to solve the real issues that are facing this country. Now, look, when it comes down to it, I want to just come right off the record as saying I'm going a little bit off the book on this one. I'm speaking mostly from my experience and the things that I've seen happen and the things that I've seen that were said. And I want to give a little bit more of a disclaimer by saying I do not in any way, shape, or form condone other people's property being vandalized. However, you got to understand both sides of the story. Before you sit down and take all this time to regurgitate what you hear on mainstream media and call the people who are protesting thugs and rioters and classless and anything like that, you should take it from a veteran protester. Somebody who's literally been to dozens and dozens and dozens, if not at least 100 protests. Literally. When it comes to standing on a street corner and holding up a sign, it almost never accomplishes anything. That's just the reality of the situation. Everyone always says, from what I'm seeing in the comment section, why can't they just protest peacefully? Why can't they just stand there and hold up their signs and let people know that they oppose? Why do they have to block traffic? Because that's the only way you get people's attention. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry that you don't like it, I guess, but the reality is no one is listening to what activists have to say for the most part. And everyone's just jumping into commentating on 2 minutes of footage that the news was releasing. And everyone was saying words like, those thugs and those criminals. And when it comes down to it, you got to understand these people are just upset. They are upset at what's going on in this country today. The people who are in Donald Trump's line are upset that their country, they're not as good off as they used to be. And Donald Trump has played off of that hate. He's played off of those fears. off of the hate of being in a situation that he doesn't even know anything about. And he's used people as scapegoats. And guess what? People don't like to be scapegoats. When he says, here's the problems, we got to make America great again. All the Mexicans, they're coming into this country, and they're the reason America isn't great. All these Muslims, they're coming into the country, and they're the reason America isn't great. That misguided anger that they're feeding into people, they're playing off of the fact that they want America to be great in the first place. It's all caused by Donald Trump. All of that's coming out in those rallies, all that violence, everything that's happening is caused by Donald Trump. And that's why it drives me crazy when I hear people saying things like, well, the left really care about free speech until it's something that they don't want to hear. You don't see protesters at Obama's rallies. You don't see protesters at Hillary Clinton's rallies. Let's get something straight. This is not a liberal issue. When it comes to the left, when it comes to the right, when it comes to the middle, everyone across the board believes in free speech. I've never met a person in my life who doesn't think that free speech is important. But you got to understand that free speech does not mean free from consequences. It does not mean free from retaliation. So if you're going to say and scapegoat groups, if you're going to say hateful things, if you're going to say oppressive things that are affecting an entire group of people, then you better understand that those same people are going to come back and they're going to dissent on your opinion. They're not saying, shut up, Trump, you're not allowed to talk. Stop talking. Because Trump has already done a lot of talking. And he's going to continue to do a lot of talking. And as long as that's happening, other people, protesters, are going to continue to do what they need to do to say that the things that he's saying are not okay. Sure, in this country we have free speech, but that doesn't mean I can go into my work call everybody the B word and just moonwalk out of the door and then come back the next day and still expect to have a job. I can't walk into a meeting with the city council and just start yelling profanities. They'll probably arrest me or escort me out. So free speech just doesn't mean, you can do whatever you want and no one will ever say anything. That's not what it means. And the fact that people are out there protesting is not saying, well, they won't let Donald Trump speak. He's speaking. No one has to let him speak. He's already doing it. He's already proven before that he can say whatever he wants. But saying whatever you want comes with a consequence. It comes with the fact that it makes people angry that they're being scapegoated. And they're going to do something about it. And why would you expect them to not? So, if you don't believe me, if you think it's just a left thing, if you think it's just liberals who are saying, oh, we're tired of all the conservatives having opinions that are different than ours, then maybe you should take a look at everybody's rallies. Because Obama had people shout out in the middle of his speeches too. And you know what he said? Well, hang on, I'm gonna get to you. I'm gonna talk to you. We'll work that out. He didn't say, hey, go throw that guy out. And don't give him his coat, even though it's freezing. No, keep his coat, keep his jacket. Throw him out into the cold. It's freezing. That'll show him. Oh, hey, if you rough that guy up, don't worry about it. I'll make sure that you're covered in court. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. You can punch that guy in the face. Go ahead and rough him up. I'll pay for your legal expenses. When you're talking about doing harm to other people because of them protesting you, you're the one that's silencing free speech. You're the one that's saying, I don't like your opinion to the point of where you're not allowed to have it, so I'm going to kick you out of my rally, or I'm going to cover people's legal costs when my supporters punch you in the face. That is truly taking away other people's voice. And the things that Trump has done over the course of the election are just inexcusable. So, like I said, if you don't believe me, if you think this is a liberal issue, if you think it's the liberal just trying to say, I don't like your opinions, so you can't have them, then you're not doing enough. Well, one, you're regurgitating mainstream media. That's just the kind of stuff that they tell you, and then it gets regurgitated. But two, you're not doing any critical thinking. Because if you took even 2 minutes to just think about everything that's happened, how come nobody's shutting down Ted Cruz rallies? How come nobody's blocking traffic for Ted Cruz? Or John Kasich? Or Bobby Jindal? Or Jeb Bush? Or Carly Fiorina? Or any of the other conservative Republicans? And how come no one's doing it for Bernie Sanders? For Hillary Clinton? Now, the offensive conservative answer that I've heard is because, we have jobs and things to do. But the reality of the situation is, when I've been to protests, yeah, not only have we had jobs, a lot of times we have very good jobs. Sometimes there was even a lot of business owners. When I did the Occupy LA movement in 2011, when I got arrested in front of the LA City Hall, I met business owners. I met people who had master's degrees and PhDs. I met people who were even going to school for things like chemical engineering. Are you kidding me? I don't even know where to begin on stuff like that. So to say, and of course I've, not only worked now, but have worked for literally the last 10 years. So to lump us all into a single protester category is ridiculous. And when it comes down to it, the last thing that makes me mad about people getting upset at the protesters is the people that I see that do it that have no invested interest in politics. They have said to me, or I've seen them say, or something has happened to where I've encountered the situation where they don't like politics, they don't talk about politics, they don't care about politics. So all of a sudden, you're going to go ahead and interject now that you see 2 minutes of protester footage on mainstream media to say that they're making, Mexicans look bad, or they're making protesters look bad, or they're making Bernie Sanders supporters look bad. To be honest, that's always an assumption, by the way, that everybody who's at a Trump rally is a Bernie Sanders fan, because that is by far not the case. I have seen a lot of people who are undecided or going for a different candidate, or going for none of the candidates yet, also be at protests. So to just say that they're all Bernie Sanders, fans would be inaccurate. But when it comes down to everybody having their dissenting opinion in reference to the actions of the protesters, all I gotta say is turn off the TV, folks. Turn it off. Because that's how you feel about it. That's exactly what they were going for. I watched the protesters for a couple hours last night while I was editing my other show. And while I was posting it on the various medias and promoting it on various forums, in the corner of my computer screen, I had a couple live streams of the show going up. And I got to tell you, it was a lot different than what I was seeing on TV. But at the end, they got that 2-minute footage of them pushing over a cop car, and all of a sudden, the whole narrative changed. Now, instead of peaceful protesters who are trying to make a difference, now all of a sudden, they found a way to go ahead and interject the words thug and criminals and violence. And I kid you not, I even heard the word terrorists. They referred to them as terrorists. Look, I know it was a long time ago, but let's not forget. I was going to say question, but that actually is inaccurate. Let's not forget how change has been instilled into this country all this time. I mean, if everybody wants to get mad at protesters, that just lets me know that we really don't remember or understand the things that were acceptable in society at one time. We're talking about a history that involves, almost a near genocide, slavery, Japanese internment camps, the Ku Klux Klan, all of which involved a lot of murder. I would be a little bit happier of a person if I saw even a fraction of the amount of outrage that I've seen today in reference to a couple of protesters and the types of things that really warrant this kind of outrage, like, the death of Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old kid in Cleveland who was murdered by a police officer. Everybody was okay with that. All the things in that nature that happened. When I heard about the beating of a girl in the school's bathroom, everyone was just neutral about that. No one said anything. I was totally absent or something that day. If there was any outrage, because I didn't see anything that people posted that were outraged about that. The only outrage that I've seen in the last 3 weeks are about who gets to use which bathroom, and a couple of protesters unsuccessfully trying to flip over a cop car. That's it. That is the only outrage that I've seen in the last couple weeks. So I'm going to be the first one here to step on a couple of toes and say, if you don't like everything that you saw, then you know what? Go out and vote for Trump and create a country that's filled with nothing but unjustified hate and violence. If that's really the kind of stuff that is going to make you not sleep tonight, then maybe it's time that some priorities were rearranged. Because I got to tell you, I'm not saying that I saw them try and flip over a cop car and I was like, geez, I wish I had done that. I wish I was there. But I got to tell you, I dang sure wasn't going and saying, wow, those guys are so stupid and so classless and so violent. They're thugs. When I've seen the same thing come out of sports rallies, except sometimes even worse. No one ever talks about that. But when it comes down to a couple of anti-Trump protesters, everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon and say how it's bad and it solved nothing. Guess who was talking about Trump all day today? Everybody. Guess who was talking about how it does need to change and we need to do it peacefully and without hate? Guess who was talking about all that today? Everybody. Guess who would have been talking about it had a couple of protesters stood on the edge of a sidewalk and held up a couple signs? Absolutely no one. And I just want that to sink in for a minute. I just want people to understand that if they're gonna feel rage about that kind of stuff, make sure that it's not displaced. Make sure that you truly understand both sides of the story. And with that, I did hope that you enjoyed the show today. I do want to thank you for tuning in to what was kind of an impromptu, spur of the moment, last minute commentary. Of course, I do want to thank you for being involved in the Nick of Time News show and for the continued support. Please follow me on Twitter at NickOfTimeNews. And if you find any fact check corrections, feel free to email them to nickoftimenews@gmail.com. As always, share. Share the videos, share the SoundCloud audio files, like them, subscribe. Anything that you can do at this point is so helpful to the project. It does make me feel absolutely grateful. And then if you could find some time to donate to the campaign, I would very much appreciate it. The link will be in the description of the YouTube video and the SoundCloud audio file. This has been your host, Nick Dorsey. Until next time.